Hey, how you doing? This is Tom, and this is Tom's Radio Room Show. And today I'm going to do a This and That show. Now, what's a This and That show? That's where I ramble. And if you're not into listening or watching rambling shows, you probably want to skip this one. But I ramble about what's going on, specifically with my show and some other things too, because this is where I ramble. So let me give you some little ideas of what's coming up. One of the things that's coming up is this guy right here. This is my Sony ICF77 shortwave radio. This is in its time, which has been quite a while, maybe 20 years ago. I'm not sure. Oh gosh, I saw my reflection in the display there. That was pretty frightening. So it's been around for a long time. I love this radio. This is probably one of my half a dozen go-to radios. And I've gotten used to this way of tuning with this dial here. Kind of cool. Kind of like your original Apple iPods, the way they used to work. I have a request. Oh gosh, there's my face again. I have a request. Let me lay this down. I have a request to compare this old technology, where at the time this was one of the best radios out there, shortwave portable radios, to modern technology in the Texan PL 680. So I'm going to do a show pretty soon. Just got to get things set up right. For instance, I've got to find a time of which reception is going to be better, which would probably be late afternoon or evening, and see how things work, because what I want to do is I want to test these radios just using their telescopic antenna, not using an external antenna. I don't know how well that's going to work in my workshop, but we're going to give it a try. Maybe the test results will be inclusive, but we're going to give it a try. So that's coming up. The next thing I've been playing with a little bit is monitoring the transponders that are on board, mostly commercial aircraft and some of the more expensive private aircraft, which is a transponder that sends out information about the aircraft. And it's information such as location, not long, altitude, speed, direction, and other things. And I've done a couple of shows quite a while ago about monitoring those things using something like this, one of these TV dongles. This is one of the newer ones that has a lot of enhancements, much better than the original dongles that were just made for TV reception, and then via some software it was turned into a wideband scanner. This has some modifications to it. So this weekend I was playing with this to see how now I can receive those aircraft. Now, a little history on that was I had set up one of those, they're only $10 now, one of those TV dongles, and was running some software to capture and decode that information coming from the aircraft. And it would even display that where the aircraft was on a map, on a Google map. And I applied for a setup so I could be a monitor for the website called Flightware. The way Flightware works is they have these volunteers that set up receiving stations of these transponders at their house, and then upload the data to the website, and then people can go to that website and see where these aircraft are. And you can become a volunteer, and they will send you the proper receiver that's built just for that, and an antenna that's built just for that. I applied for that. One of the things you had to do when you apply for it, you have to send them pictures of your location and where the antenna is going to be, because the frequency that these transponders work on, which is 1.090 gigahertz, is a line of sight reception. In other words, your antenna has to see physically the transponder or the aircraft, whatever. And so if you got obstacles in the way, it's not going to work very good. Well, I have several large trees, but I was going to put the antenna that they sent me on my second story, which is above those trees. Well, it down to about 20 degrees, and then the trees get in the way. Well, that was not good enough. They wanted complete, clear line of sight, so my application was turned down. At the time when I was testing one of these type of dongles doing that, not their specialized receiver, I was getting aircraft that was about maximum 100 miles away. And I was using a disc cone antenna that was on my second story. So pretty much clear of the trees down to about 20 degrees above the horizon. And it didn't work, so I did a couple of shows on that. You can go back and see those shows, and I kind of just put it aside. Well, this weekend I was doing that again, and I was using this right here, this dongle, which has a lot of enhancements to it. This is not just a TV dongle. It has a lot of enhancements to it to provide better reception and filtering and such not. To see how it did. Now, these dongles use this connector right here, and they come with not this particular one, but this type of antenna, which is very short, and it's designed for the European TV stations, which operate at around 500 megahertz. So the height is twice the height, approximately, that you need for reception of the aircraft information. So I was playing with this, or one of these, and this, with this just sitting on my workbench here in my garage. And I was getting aircraft that were up to 25 miles away, not very good. I'm down here at the ground level, maybe 5 feet above ground. I didn't have a base, a metal base, as a ground plane for this antenna. So I was surprised I got anything, but it was working. So what I was going to do is I was going to get this outside. Well, again, operating at those super high frequencies, 1 gigahertz and above, the coax cable makes a big difference, because the higher frequency you go, the more attenuation you get in these cables. So if I just took a typical 50 ohm coax cable, I'm going to get a lot of attenuation before the signal gets from the antenna to the dongle. So I was experimenting with that, and so I can't go very long. So that's kind of where I'm at there. And I'm getting in tomorrow. I'm getting in one of these dongles that is advertised by that website, Flightware, and it's modified to work at those higher frequencies. It's got some filtering on the front end, so lower frequencies don't come in and disturb the signal. And we're going to see how well that works. It basically looks like this dongle It comes in, they have two versions. One is orange and one is black. The black is supposed to have some additional filtering built into it. So it's the Super Pro version. So that's coming in. So I can do some more testing on aircraft tracking. The next thing I've been working on, again I was working on it last week, is I pulled out my Raspberry Pi box with all my Raspberry Pi accessories and everything, and was going to try to get it working, because there is now a application that you can run on a Raspberry Pi or a PC with Linux to use one of these things for receiving those those aircraft reception. What am I talking about? Transmissions. Oh God. And that's what I was experimenting this weekend. I have a version of Linux running on a PC that comes with some software that will do just that. So that's what I was using in this guy to decipher the transmissions from those aircraft transponders. So we're going to see how that goes. So that's another thing I got on my list of things to do. One of the problems I ran into when I was experimenting with the Raspberry Pi before, and I did a couple of shows on it, you can do a search on Raspberry Pi and see those shows I did on it, is that I had difficulty getting the audio out of the Raspberry Pi. And it was basically because I didn't have the right setup. And I won't go into details of what was wrong, but I just didn't have the right setup. Plus, I finally got it working, and then the monitor I was using, which had an HDMI input, was one that was given to me because it was not working, and I was able to fix it. Well, it died again, and I couldn't fix it. So I'm trying to reconstruct that setup on the Raspberry Pi and get it going again. I probably will do some shows in the near future about my status and ask for some help. I am really a newbie when it comes to Linux, so I really need some help. So that's another project I'm revising from the dead, shall we say. The last status I have is on long wave reception. As some of you may recall, I did a show on challenging myself to try to receive a long wave station. In Europe, they're plentiful, they're somewhat easier to receive. In the United States, there are none, except maybe some beacons. And I have never, although I've tried several times, I've never been able to receive a broadcast station from Europe on long wave. I don't have the proper setup. Number one, I've got the good radio to do it, but I don't have the proper antennas. And so I'm looking for help on that. Several people have told me that what I need is a big loop antenna that can be tuned down to below 500 kilohertz, which is where long wave is. But looking at ones that are kits or prefabricated, we're talking $300-500, way up there, and out of my price range. So, and I'm not into building antennas. I used to build all kinds of antennas, satellite antennas, beam antennas, quad antennas, but I'm no good at it anymore, and I was only mediocre before. And even back then, my father-in-law, who has passed away, helped me with the actual construction. So I'm not into building one myself. So that's the status on that. I'm still trying. I'm looking for inputs. If you got any advice, I'd appreciate it. Excuse me. Well, I told you I was going to ramble, and I've managed to ramble for 15 minutes. And now my voice is giving up, so I'm going to stop rambling. So that's what's on the agenda, what's on the horizon. I apologize because I haven't done a show in about a week now. And my excuse, and that's all it is excuse, is it's been quite warm in Florida. Matter of fact, yesterday here in Clearwater, Florida, it was a high of 85 degrees. That I started my garden, that I said I wasn't going to do another garden. I started my garden this year, and I've been outside working on that quite a bit. It's going now. I've got to, how can I say this nicely? I got to get rid of some varmints I have in my backyard where my garden is. Last year they destroyed my garden and ate or took a bite out of every vegetable I got. I ended up getting one cucumber. I normally get 3 or 4 dozen. I got one that they didn't chew a little knot out of. I used my wildlife camera set up in the backyard, captured them overnight, found out who they are. I think the culprit is rats. Yep, fruit rats is what we call them. And we have a tangerine tree in my backyard which attracts them. So I set up some traps the other night, and I caught 2 of them out of the 3 traps. And there's probably a lot more that I need to capture. And at least try to, I don't know if you kill a couple of rats off, that the other rats won't come around or not. I don't know. The other problem I have is 2 houses down, believe it or not, there's a gentleman has chickens in his backyard. And of course he feeds them chicken feed, which the rats like. I also attract them because I feed birds in the front yard, which the bird feed has things that rats like. So I'll see if I can make some progress, and this time try to get some vegetables out of my vegetable garden. So I rambled long enough. If you enjoyed this show, and if you like these ramblings, please give me a thumbs up. If you don't, you can give me a thumbs down, and I'll have an indication of maybe I shouldn't do these rambling shows. That's it. Have a great day. Stay, well, I was going to say stay warm, but it's hot here in Florida. Right now it's 80 degrees in my workshop. But tomorrow it's supposed to cool off for a couple of days. So that's when I'll get back to doing my shows out here in my workshop. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye-bye.